Most people think they're doing everything right, cutting carbs, skipping dessert, counting every calorie. But what if I told you that the very meal you believe is safe might be quietly spiking your blood sugar just 30 minutes later? I've seen it too often. A gentle bowl of oatmeal with fruit, a slice of whole grain toast, even that herbal tea after dinner. And yet, within the hour, their glucose monitor lights up like a warning flare. It's not just frustrating, it's defeating. I've sat across from men and women who followed every rule in the book and still felt like their body was broken beyond repair. But here's something most people don't know. The answer might already be sitting in your kitchen cabinet, tucked behind the cinnamon or buried beneath the cumin jar. And no, it's not some exotic superfood or a miracle pill. It's an ancient spice called clove, and it might just be one of the most overlooked blood sugar tools we've ever had. Now, I'm not here to sell you hope without grounding. So let's break this down. Clove contains a compound called eugenol, but instead of throwing you chemical names, let me explain it this way. Imagine your digestive system as a conveyor belt. When you eat processed carbs or sugar, they race down that belt straight into your bloodstream. But clove? Clove presses the brakes. It slows the belt. It helps your body take its time digesting carbs more gradually, avoiding the kind of sugar spike that leaves you groggy, irritable, and swollen by afternoon. And that's not all. Eugenol doesn't just help with digestion. It enhances insulin sensitivity, so your body responds better to the insulin you already make. It also reduces the low-grade inflammation that quietly chips away at your nerves, your joints, and your heart over the years. What makes clove even more remarkable is how quickly it starts working. Some emerging studies, including one highlighted by researchers at the Journal of Medicinal Food, show that active compounds in clove can begin influencing insulin signaling within just minutes of consumption. That's faster than many over-the-counter aids, and without the chemical aftershock. I've personally witnessed this with a retired teacher named Helen. She was tired of the crash after every meal. We introduced clove tea into her routine, just a few whole cloves steeped in hot water after dinner. Within 2 weeks, she wasn't just seeing lower numbers on her glucose meter. Her fingers felt less stiff in the morning. Her stomach, which used to churn after heavy meals, had finally settled. She even started sleeping through the night. Of course, no tool is perfect. Clove, while powerful, does come with cautions. If you're on blood-thinning medications or have a sensitive stomach, large doses of clove may irritate or interact. That's why moderation and supervision matter. And unlike synthetic drugs, clove works best as part of a broader, steady routine, not a quick fix. But here's the beauty. It's affordable, accessible, and deeply rooted in traditional medicine. You don't need a prescription. You don't need to overhaul your entire pantry. You just need a teaspoon, a teacup, and a little patience. So why is clove still hiding in the shadows while other trends dominate the headlines? Perhaps because it's too ordinary, too familiar. But if you felt like nothing's working, if you've been chasing solutions and feeling like you're falling further behind, maybe what you need isn't something new. Maybe it's something old, something time-tested, used the right way at the right moment. Start small. Steep 2 or 3 whole cloves in boiling water for 10 minutes. Add a slice of lemon or a bit of cinnamon if the taste feels too bold. Sip slowly. Feel what your body tells you. But I wouldn't be sharing this if clove were the only answer. In fact, there's a second ingredient, far more common than clove, far more underestimated, that works just as fast, and might even go deeper. If you've ever dismissed it because of its smell or its simplicity, you'll want to stick around. Because what happens when you pair clove with this next kitchen staple is something doctors are only now beginning to understand. There's something hiding in your kitchen right now that most people avoid, without even realizing it could be the missing link in their blood sugar journey. It's not exotic. It's not expensive. In fact, it's probably sitting in a basket on your counter or buried beneath a head of garlic. But here's the catch. While this humble vegetable may bring tears to your eyes when you slice it, it could also quietly protect your blood vessels, stabilize your blood sugar, and reduce the inflammation that silently ages your body from the inside out. I'm talking about onions. And if you've ever dismissed them as just a flavor base for soups or something to scrape off your burger, it's time to take a second look. Because for people over 60, especially those battling unstable glucose or nagging joint pain, onions are far more than garnish. They're medicine in disguise. Let me explain. Onions are loaded with sulfur compounds, particularly quercetin and allyl propyl disulfide. Don't worry, I won't quiz you on the names. What matters is what they do. These compounds act like guardians at the cellular gates. They improve the way your cells respond to insulin, helping sugar move from your bloodstream into your tissues more efficiently. They also slow down the breakdown of carbohydrates during digestion, which means a slower, more controlled release of glucose after meals. And perhaps most importantly, for those of us in our later years, they reduce chronic inflammation, the kind that doesn't hurt like a cut, but instead eats away silently at your joints, your nerves, and even your brain. Now here's where it gets interesting. Studies from institutions like the National Institutes of Health have shown that onion extract can begin lowering blood sugar levels in as little as 8 to 10 minutes after ingestion. That's not theoretical. That's measured using real glucose monitors on real people. And I've seen this up close. There was a gentleman named Robert, retired firefighter from Ohio, who used to experience dizzy spells an hour after lunch. We added a few slices of raw red onion to his sandwich daily. Within a week, he noticed his energy stayed more stable through the afternoon. His hands, once puffy and stiff, began to loosen. His glucose readings became more predictable. It wasn't dramatic, it was consistent. And that consistency changed everything. What I love about onions is how accessible they are. You don't need to prep a complicated recipe. Just slice them raw and toss them into your salad. Sauté them gently with olive oil and eggs for a savory breakfast. Roast them until sweet and golden and serve them beside some lean protein. Even soaking them in lemon water for 10 minutes can soften their bite for those with sensitive stomachs. But that brings us to the caveats. While onions are generally safe, they do contain natural sugars and can cause bloating or gas in some people, especially when eaten raw. If you have acid reflux or irritable bowel, moderation matters. And though rare, they may interact mildly with blood pressure medications, particularly when consumed in concentrated forms like extracts or juices. So, as always, it's wise to start slow and pay attention to how your body responds. Here's the bigger picture, though. Most people chase elaborate diets or expensive supplements, hoping for magic. But sometimes, the answer is humble and familiar. Sometimes healing doesn't come from a clinic. It comes from the produce aisle. When you use onions deliberately, with care and consistency, they don't just support your sugar. They comfort your joints. They soothe your gut. They help you reclaim mornings without fog, meals without fatigue, and afternoons without the sudden urge to nap. And when paired with clove, their impact multiplies not just in the lab, but in lived experience. You see, the power of food isn't just in nutrients. It's in the rituals we build around them. A quiet cup of clove tea after dinner. A few caramelized onions stirred into your breakfast eggs. These are not loud changes, but they're lasting ones. And if you're wondering what else you can do if you're ready to take it one step further, there's one more layer to this. A way to bring these ingredients into your life daily, safely, and without turning your kitchen upside down. Because theory is great, but practicality is what changes lives. Knowledge doesn't mean much if it stays in your head. The real shift happens when it reaches your plate. And here's the truth. You don't need to flip your whole life upside down to make a difference. You don't need a nutritionist on speed dial or a fridge full of ingredients you can't pronounce. You need just two things, clove and onion, and a quiet decision to start. Small, steady steps. That's how change sticks. That's how blood sugar stabilizes, how joints loosen, how sleep returns. Not from a miracle, but from consistency. So let's talk about what this could look like in real life. Let's say it's dinner time. You're tired, your back aches, and you just want something easy. Start by boiling a few whole cloves in water while you prep your plate. Steep them for 10 minutes. That's it. If the flavor feels too bold, drop in a cinnamon stick or a thin slice of lemon. Sip it slowly after you eat, not because it's trendy, but because it tells your stomach to calm down, your pancreas to take a breath, your sugar not to spike and crash like it used to. Now look at what's on your plate. Could it use more depth, more richness? Slice an onion. Sauté it in olive oil until it softens, then fold it into scrambled eggs, stir it through beans, or lay it gently over roasted vegetables. That one act, the sizzling of onion in your skillet, does more than flavor your food. It supports your blood sugar, soothes inflammation, and makes you feel fuller, calmer, more grounded. Breakfast? Skip the sugar bombs. Instead, stir together oats with almond milk, cinnamon, and just a pinch of ground clove. Top with crushed walnuts for texture. Lunch? Add red onion slices to your turkey sandwich. Snack time? Try roasted sweet potato wedges tossed with onion and clove spice mix. The goal isn't perfection, it's rhythm. A daily habit, not a detox. A quiet ritual that says, I'm not giving up, I'm giving my body what it's been asking for. Now here's where most people slip. They think if they can't do it all, they shouldn't do anything. But I'm here to tell you the opposite. Healing begins in the in-between moments. In the 10-minute tea. In the sauté pan. In the decision to listen to your body instead of ignoring it. Maybe you'll notice your stomach feels a little lighter after dinner. Maybe you'll wake up with less stiffness in your fingers. Maybe your sugar doesn't spike the way it used to after lunch. These aren't coincidences. These are clues. Evidence that your body is responding and that it's not broken. It just needed something simple. Something real. Something from your own kitchen. If you've ever felt discouraged, like no matter what you do, your numbers stay high, I want you to remember this. Your body still wants to heal. It just needs help. And that help doesn't have to come in a pill bottle. Sometimes it comes in the form of a warm cup of clove tea or the smell of caramelized onions on your stove. You don't need to wait until the next doctor's visit to feel better. You can start tonight. And here's the beautiful part. When you start, you give others permission to start too. So pause at the spice aisle next time you're shopping. Pick up that jar of cloves you've ignored for years. Grab a few fresh onions and let them remind you that healing doesn't have to be hard. It just has to begin. If you've tried this, I'd love to hear how it's helped. Share your story in the comments. Someone else might be waiting for a sign, and your voice might be the one that helps them begin. And if you're ready for the next layer of this journey, there's more waiting for you. Because small changes, stacked gently, can build a life you love living again.